So, hey everybody, welcome back to week 5. So, we are on our fifth application and we are building an application called VoiceCare where the what we are trying to do is help elderly people where they can come to a phone and just sort of have a conversation with our application where they can say, I'm feeling a little tired. What can I do? So these kind of conversations they can have, and we'll get responses back from our application. Now, in addition, the feature that we have made is with some kind of trigger words like tired or require help or something like that, it can automatically send SNS notifications and also initiate a phone call to close relatives. And that is a feature I've not found in many similar applications, and I thought it might be useful to have it as part of our architecture. And so let's go ahead and think about what are all the different services that I'm going to have. So I'm going to have a Lambda function, which is, as always, the central function. And then in addition, I'm going to have a poly function which is going to get the outputs and then convert it into voice or MP4s. So first thing that's going to happen is our voice is going to go, and then we are going to use AWS transcribe to take the voice data and convert it to text data. After it converts to text data, we are going to send it to Claude 4 to analyze what is the text data to come up with an empathetic response. Once the response comes back, we are going to do text to speech again with the help of Poly. And if there are trigger words, Claude will also give a recommendation to contact close relatives and things like that. So in the end, we have DynamoDB tables where we are going to have voice care logs that are going to be stored there, and we also have an initial database of the kind of people that come into our application because we want to have historical conversations also, right? Because we want to make sure that a context window is not reached. If someone comes after 1 week, we want to be able to cater to them and actually start having a conversation. Hey, how are you feeling? And things like that. All right. So let's quickly dive into our Lambda function, which is our central function. And you can see here that I have an S3 bucket, voice audio bucket. Again, it's a private bucket. Never leave an S3 bucket public, and just give resource-based policies to the S3 bucket. What I'm now going to do is, sorry, this is the Lambda handler function. And what I'm going to do now is also have a DynamoDB table where the DynamoDB table is going to store the data. Okay, so when users come in and um, try to access their relatives from SNS, that is one table, and the other table is going to be able to find the voice care logs. Okay, so here you can see that, if they want to go to previous data, you can see that there are these voice care logs that are going to be stored. So you can see that user ID and then the last reply, which is going to be stored, and the last summary of the reply, and the last transcript on what the person asked, and the timestamp. Okay, so these are going to be the entries that are going to be stored in DynamoDB. Again, we use DynamoDB because all this kind of unstructured data, this is probably the best match for where we want to use our data store. So let's go ahead into the Lambda function. And so first thing is we get the previous summary. And from the previous summary, what we then do is we try to, in our Lambda handler, try to figure out using Claude if it needs to have a context from our previous summaries to come up with our new results. After we are done with the Claude processing, we are going to save the conversation. Like I showed you exactly, these are the DynamoDB table entries. And so we then go into a Lambda handler function. And so here we are going to get the query string parameters, which are going to be whatever transcribe sends as text data. And the body is going to be our text data. And we're also going to get the audio URL, which is going to be in S3 that is going to go in there. So it's going to be an M4A if it is going to be coming from an iPhone, which is going to be our ultimate goal. We want all of this to be to have a conversation with our iPhone. And finally, we have a user ID that I keep as default. Maybe, in the future, we'll probably have to use a UUID for mapping these users. So first thing is transcribe. It's a very easy function. So if I go into transcribe.py, you can see here that it's fairly straightforward, where all we are doing is transcribe underscore client dot get transcription job. That's it. Okay. So it goes in here, and then it takes a little bit of time for the processing to happen. And I'm just going to print the status for debugging use cases. And then I'm also going to have a wait time. So here I'm having 60 seconds. If it's going to take more than 60 seconds, I'm just going to give a timeout error. And after I'm done with that, you can see here that I'm going to have a transcription job, and within that, the transcript. And from the voice, we are going to get the file URI. And I'm going to get the file URI. And once I get the file URI, I'm going to put it up to ready to be transcribed again. All right. So these are the main steps. And you can see here that the file URI that I'm going to get is what is going to be uploaded to S3. The next thing, after getting the transcript, I'm going to get the previous summary from DynamoDB. And then comes the AI part, where Bedrock Claude is going to chat with the customer. And essentially, I'm going to have uh, a fairly straightforward way of communicating with Bedrock Claude. The prompt is not super complicated for now. And so, if memory summary, here's what the user told you before. So, we get from the memory summary. If not, there's a prompt. You're a compassionate AI caregiver. This is the history. Maybe there is no history. And today's message is this: reply with empathy and helpfulness. Suggest help only if necessary, meaning don't just keep contacting the relatives. Okay. And then client invoke model, we have seen this multiple times in all our projects, and then it's going to return the result. Right? So that's our Bedrock Claude. After that, we are going to have our SNS function. So if there is a trigger word, for example, I am tired or I feel tired or something like that, then I'm going to have an SNS notify. And with SNS notify, I'm going to go into the contacts table. And from there, I'm going to get all the items. And specifically, the items that I have are the phone number, the first name, the last name, and who the relative is, the relationship. Okay. And then again, it's a one line code with Boto3 is sns.publish. And it says, hi, this is VoiceCare, and this person might need your attention. And that's pretty much it with SNS notify. And then the last thing is take the text transcript and convert it to audio. So for that, I'm going to use poly text to speech. And so if I go into poly text to speech, we can see here that output format is MP3. Now, this is a new addition that AWS came with a voice called Olivia with the neural engine. So they are saying that it uses generative AI to come up with a voice that is close to humans. Honestly, I am not. We can listen to it and decide for ourselves, but that is the closest I could get to convert our final text into speech. And once I get that, I'm going to put it inside an S3 bucket. And ultimately, from that S3 bucket, I'm going to fetch it into our client. The last thing for security is the bucket is private. So I'm going to generate a pre-signed URL. And from the pre-signed URL, I'm going to get object and have a TTL for this URL. Specifically, I'm going to have 1 hour expiry. And so that is our server code, everyone. And you can see that, this is a slightly complicated project, but it's really about understanding all the architecting parts. That's the main focus here that I want to emphasize. We want to think of security, we want to think of IAM role permissions. And so if you go in here, I have these things which I'm going to remove eventually. Okay. But to test, I had Bedrock full access, Poly full access, S3 full access, Translate full access. But this is eventually the policy that I'm going to actually use. Okay. So let me go in here and actually show you the all policy. So you can see here that for policy synthesize speech, I'm allowing all resources. For transcribe, I'm again allowing all resources. But for get object, put object, and put object ACL, I'm specifically saying like only to this particular resource. That means that outside people cannot access all the other buckets. Okay. SNS publish, I'm allowing everything. And then DynamoDB, again, I'm only allowing get, put, and query into our VoiceCare logs and VoiceCare contacts. Again, this is not the most secure IAM policy, but for beginning, this seems reasonable enough. So with that, we are now ready to go. And what I mean by that is, let me go ahead and start with the SAM template this time. Okay, that's the little bit of a difference. Is from my local, I'm writing a SAM template to be able to create all these resources. Okay, so the serverless function is VoiceCare handler. This is Bedrock, and there's VoiceCare logs, VoiceCare contacts, and then these are the DynamoDB that I'm asking to be created. And then I'm going to have this particular bucket, and also have a little bit of logs going on. And for the contacts table, have the primary ID as user ID, which is of type string, and then the phone number, which is of type string as well. And so we are going to get all of this for the voice care contact table. And then we create an SNS topic. Again, we don't need a specific topic because this is a direct push notification. So when you get the output, it can immediately be pushed to the client. And I'm using the phone number here to send an SMS message. And finally, our client, like every time else, is going to connect to our API gateway. Okay. And this is going to be the output, which is the API gateway endpoint URL. And then I'm having all my different functions in here. So I've been making some changes to the server code directly. So I have to just make sure that in my SAM code, they are all going to match. So let me copy the Lambda handler. Let me copy the transcribe.py, and let me copy the SNS notify, and let me copy the poly function. Hopefully I have poly. Yes, I have poly. So let me copy the poly, and finally I have the bedrock cloud. And so the bedrock cloud is the last function. Okay? And so I made sure that all my Lambda functions are here. Again, I'm just showing you all a demo, everyone. And so all of this has already been created, everything is ready to go. So I'm just showing you that I've been changing it on the server. So when I go into my local, I have to do my regular SAM validate. So SAM, if you're not aware, is a serverless application model where you write a template on the client. So just make sure it's a valid template, and then SAM build, and we just make sure the build goes correctly. So that's good. The build succeeded, and then SAM deploy. So now there is going to be no change set, okay, because the server code is matching what we have on the client code. But if you make any changes to the client code, the best practice is to make it on the not client. I'm sorry. If you make it on local code, um, test it in the SAM sandbox. Okay, that's the main thing, because if it is not going to be tested in the SAM sandbox, then we are directly trying to deploy to the server. So what I'm trying to do here is not really great practice. Okay. So here it is saying that I'm going to have a voice care handler that changed. I just have to make sure that this is just something that it is trying to match the server. Okay, so let's give a yes. All right, so it's going to do a chain set, and so here you already get the functions code has been updated in another editor. So the SAM is trying to deploy. So right now I'm just going to ignore because I know everything works, and I finally get the endpoint, and I also get the SNS topic. Okay. And so again, if you go into the SNS topic, you don't, this is the SNS topic, you don't need to create a subscription because it automatically will be sending to, in my case, to all the loved ones, but we can filter out and send only to specific loved ones. So this is the whole flow, everyone. And the last thing is, let me go ahead and for today test it on the Lambda console. So here you can see that I have a grammar.m4a, which is something that I recorded, and which is in an S3 bucket. So if you go in here and go into objects, you can see here that I have the grammar.m4a. And so I also have it in local. So let me just play it and show you what this is Hi, I feel really tired today. I don't know what to do. Okay, so this is like the grammar talking. And so what we are going to do is we are going to run this particular code, or run this particular query. And so it takes a little bit of time because it's going to upload to S3. From S3, it's going to go to transcribe. Transcribe is going to convert to text. Text is going to go into Bedrock, Claude model, and then Claude is going to come back with an output. And then there's the SNS part. SNS won't be working. And then Pauli is finally going to convert it into a reply URL. So here you can see first thing is we get the text URL. Hello there, I notice you are feeling tired today, blah, blah, blah. But let's try to listen to the reply URL. Again, it's a pre-signed URL. So you are assured that it has a TTL, and your bucket can remain private. Okay. So this thing downloads, and so
Hash, hello there. I notice you're feeling tired today. That's completely understandable. Everyone has those low energy days. Perhaps today calls for gentleness with yourself. You might rest in your comfortable chair for a while, enjoy a warm, soothing drink, simply allow yourself to move at a slower pace today. Is there anything specific making you feel extra tired? Sometimes it helps to identify if it's related to sleep, medication, or just one of those days. Remember, it's perfectly okay to take things slowly when your body is asking for rest. What small thing might bring you a bit of comfort right now?
all right. So now this is our first reply, and then we can go ahead and have a conversation. So this app, at least from the server side, is pretty much done, everyone. The last thing is there's a trigger word, and I showed you in the code that it's going to send an SNS. The only problem that I'm having right now is the AWS for new users. This is a new account that I've created. For new users, it has everything in a sandbox. Only for sandbox testing can you use SNS. But I eventually want to get a message on my phone, and I want to show the demo as well. And so I've requested the quota to be increased for my SNS. Okay, and so I've opened a ticket, and in that particular ticket, I have I think um, somewhere here that I have a ticket, and I've increased, not increased, I've basically asked for changing to pinpoint, which is the new service, and to pinpoint for to be able to uh, the limit to be increased for my dollar amount. And the other thing that I've asked is to remove the sorry the sandbox request into and turn it into production. So once I'm done with that, I'm pretty much done. So here you can see that let me see. So here list sandbox. So here you can actually go in and get a sandbox number to be able to test it as well. Okay. And so these are default quota accounts, and the only thing is you just have to open a ticket, and once you open the ticket, you can actually go ahead and uh, request for increase in quotas. Okay, so that should be done in a couple of days, and then I'll actually be able to see an SMS, and I'll eventually make it into phone call as well that relatives can get. But again, this was a longish tutorial and a video, everyone. But hopefully, you all liked it. I will see you all again tomorrow with the front end code. And specifically, we'll have a login password just to make sure that a particular user can access only their data. Okay, so that's an important thing. We'll be using Cognito for that, and we'll be using Cognito user pools where users can come and register. So their data is what will be historical context that will come back to them. So with that, have a great day, everyone, and I will see you again tomorrow. Keep building.